Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us for this month's Hot Topics, West Valley Hot Topics. So this month, we're talking about one of my favorite topics, Class A office development in the West Valley. And the reason it's my favorite is because back in 2019, Mike and I got together with Stephanie Fogelson, one of our board members, and we met with some influencers in the region and said, okay, how do we start convincing folks that we have the market in the West Valley for Class A office? Now, I'd love to take credit for your building. Actually, you had the vision before this. That was already on your way. So Mike was just the perfect person to work alongside and really convince others as to why the West Valley is a great place to invest in Class A office. And George, you know, we admire everything that you did in your vision. So being the trailblazer in this industry, this area, it's really going to set us up for some of the business attraction in industries that we were not able to capture in the past and get some of our advanced business workers employed locally. So with that, I'm going to just throw it out there and ask you to tell us how this all came about.
Well, actually, it came about because Mike and Julie, city manager, Dahl at the city of Goodyear, got together and said, what's it going to take to get the city to find a location for our new city hall? Something like a cup of coffee leads to. Yeah. And Julie said, it's something we've been talking about. One thing led to another. I don't mean to put words.
Yeah, the city had a expired in 2017. So another developer, they had actually spent several $1 million designing a city hall before the session hit, the housing crisis hit. And then that didn't come to fruition. And that development agreement expired in 17. I think it was March of 2018. And Julie had just become the city manager. Right. And we just thought, you know, George and I talked about it. There's really zero office in the West Valley, but still there's not much. No one wants to build spec. So we thought, you know, if the city would bring their city hall project there, that it could really kick off a kind of office campus. And so Julie ran to Mayor Lord, and she loved the idea. That development agreement having expired in 2017, kind of was the window for the city to take a spot first.
So Mayor, yeah.
This is a perfect example of what a private public partnership can do. I mean, I look back and we've been looking since I think it was 1984, a gathering place for the city. And we went round and around. It's going to be somewhere down there where our current rec center is. And then this came up and on time, on budget. Where have you heard of that?
During COVID.
You know, and during COVID. So yeah, this is really the pride of the city. We don't really have a downtown. And this is going to kind of be our central focus place. And we expect this to be the jewel of the Southwest as we go forward. And it's like I told Exis the other day, you can say nothing. I'm real pumped about where we're going. And I know with George and his team, we're going to get there. So I'm real excited about what all we have here and how this all came about. To tell you the truth, I've had people come through the city that I've given, trailer, and they just love it. The library is so innovative. You got to have tons of computers for people. And that active wall there for the kids to play with. City Hall itself is built for what is it, 15 years, I believe, or something like that. Yeah. So we thought about all of that when that was built in. And wait till the festivals. We're gonna have festivals in that 2-acre park. Dickens and the park is coming, I believe, around Christmas time. My favorite, Goodyear Rocks. I can play music. So it's gonna be a fantastic. No, I'm not playing, but I'll be announcing and kind of going into that. But no, I'm really looking forward to all the activities, the festivals, you know, that's going to go on. And this is just a great, great partnership. I can't emphasize that.
Yeah. So
let me just weigh in for a second, because I agree with everything the mayor said. You know, the council was so supportive. Goodyear is just such a terrific place to do business. And when we had this idea and we both had to work together because there were things that the city wanted from us, we wanted from the city. But I'll tell you what, it was seamless and there was no arguing, we were all on the same page. So from Mayor Lord and now, of course, the new mayor, through the city council, through the city staff, with Julie all the way down. I mean, everybody, Goodyear's a great place to do business. We're so happy to be there. I think it's as good a place as anywhere else you'll find in the Southwest.
So George, step back because I didn't really do intros, I realized.
Okay.
And I think the mayor needs no intro, right? Mayor Joe Pizzillo of the city of Goodyear. But George and Mike, let's take a step back and introduce obviously the company and how the idea came about and maybe your respective roles. George's role, but maybe discuss. You do what Mike tells you to do. Tells you.
Mike, are we supposed to be here? So what are we supposed to do? I'll just make it really quickly. I'm the lucky one who was his fourth generation in our family business, started in 1901. We've been a private company for 4 generations, and we hope we're grooming the next generation to take us. This piece of property that we've had for 50 years. My dad and my grandfather bought it in the 70s, and it was just a nice farm, on the west side of town. And as growth continued to move out that way, we continued to pay more attention to what was going on out there. I-10 finally connected into Phoenix, as we all know, it's been around for a long time. And I just knew that the growth was going to continue along these corridors, these transportation corridors. The 101 came through. We saw what happened with the 101 freeway coming through. Now with the 303, we've seen what the 303 does. And really, if you just follow transportation corridors, it'll show you. And so I knew with I-10 and the widening and all the off ramps and everything that's going on in the West Valley from Avondale to Tolleson to Goodyear, all the way out to Buckeye, it was just a matter of time. And then our job was to try to work with the city to see what makes the most sense for our partner. Because we want to be successful, and we also want the city to be successful. We can work together and make them both successful. We know we've got a great project. And so really it started with Mace Ridge, Westport back in the day. Here's a little quick story. I'll make it quick because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. But originally, the regional shopping center in Poor was over on Suncourse Park, a mile west of ours. And I was working with Westport, and the Westport people said, well, we're not sure we can work with Suncor because we think in terms of decades and long-term thinking, and Suncor, which is owned by Pinnacle West, thinks in terms of quarters. They're a public company. And so I said, well, would you mind telling that to John Ogden, who ran Suncor at the time? And he said, sure. So Rob Ward and I trundled down to Suncor's offices, and they said, to their credit, they said, if you want to move all of that retail and shopping over to your site, we're better off selling it as homes and selling to home builders and turning the land quicker than you can turn it. So that's how the whole thing really started, was a general plan amendment, moving the regional shopping center from Suncor's property over to our property. And that happened in the early 2000s. And then that's when we formed a partnership with Westport, which then became Mace Ridge. And of course, we all know that Mace Ridge ended their planning agreement and decided to give up on the property. We're able to acquire it back. This is the entire property around it, not just the City Hall property. And it's really a blessing that probably didn't move forward with regional shopping mall, because we see we're in, malls today enclosed, just they don't draw big tenants and big anchors like they used to. So now it's more live, work, play, entertain, streetscapes, outdoor dining, all that kind of stuff. And so that's what our plans are for the future. So when you say the best is yet to come, that's what we're talking about. But I know we're here for office. We're talking about office, not just that. But so, office is a component of what drives restaurants, what drives retail, what drives residential, all that stuff. So the goal for the entire region and in this whole property is to have a fully mixed use development. And that includes partnerships with the city and what the city's doing. It includes office, it includes residential, and then retail and entertainment. plan to put all this together, which got some announcements coming up that we're gonna be really excited, so.
So Mike, you handle the finances, right? That's kind of where your brain's at, right?
My title is CFO. It's just,
Way more than that.
yeah, George's right hand.
That's all. Understand.
Yeah, we're not really a development company, so we don't have a development staff. We don't want to have to, continue to build real estate projects when they're not warranted, right? So what we've done with this, George and I spent a lot of time talking about it. We want a joint venture partner on this, or, with respect to the Civic Square piece, should we just develop it ourselves? So we really just put a team together, a buying company, Butler Design, have third-party ownership, Kirkland, Foresight, and, with respect to this retail leasing around Pacific Park, where we just bring in a consulting team that we can work with. That's an extension of ourselves. So I sign a lot of checks, but I also do a lot of lease negotiations. Working on the city on the development agreement and, watching over our consultants. And George and I just kind of tag team it together. It's been 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've known the family for 36 years.
You part of the family.
Yeah,
So,
Feels like it.
but you help mitigate risk, right? And so, and I think that's the big thing, because, when we were talking to folks a few years ago, the issue was, yeah, we'd love to build spec, but it's too risky. You can't get the financing for it. Nobody wants to build or invest just based on, all the risk is on me. And I think that that's something that you've all done really well, the city, Ryan, and Globe.
We have two major things in our favor. One is the land basis of our land. 1970, purchased land 10 years ago. It's holding it for 50 years. And then in having the development partnership with the city to build 125,000 square foot, 4-story Class A office that's 100% occupied. It's a great way to kick off a project. It makes building 100,000 square foot spec office a lot easier. It's easier to finance. Obviously, Globe has a very long-term time horizon, so that's kind of an aspect of it that we don't really care if we lease it up. We don't have a partner that's questioning us of how fast we're going to lease up the building. We're actually leasing it up faster than we expected, but it's a little bit less pressure when you have a partner like the city of Goodyear, you have a very low land basis and you have a long-term time horizon.
You think, yeah, when I mentioned, if you look high above, and I think we got some pictures, on some of the filming. You got all this office, you're talking about office. Office brings synergy, brings people, which brings walkability to the restaurants, to the retail. That's kind of the vision on we're tying all this in. You look around into the area, you're getting new rentals, new apartments being built, all walkable to our area. So when we have events, there's going to be a lot of people that can walk to the event where they live right now. Right behind City Hall, you have the wash and you have another shopping center where the people here at the city can, or in the office building, can go across the wash and get food and retail into their time off. So when they're having their lunch. So yeah, and I can see that vision, that George has. And like I said, you haven't seen anything yet. At some point, we'll cut across the road and that will bring additional walkability and people to enjoy this new kind of downtown areas.
Okay, so what can you tell us about across the road?
Well,
There's got to be something. Give me some crumbs.
what we like to do as opposed to making announcements is when the time is right and the announcement is made, that means somebody is signing. So, we got burnt in the past, to be honest with you, with the mall
Sure.
site, because what happened is we said, well, this is coming, that's coming. It did come, and then people would say, yeah, I don't believe a word you're saying.
Right.
Well, now when we make that word, it's gonna be something signed. So we'd rather wait until that's official and signed, at least from my perspective. I don't know if George will probably take it the same way too.
yeah, no, we can't really, and I appreciate that. We want the steak with the sizzle, just don't want the sizzle. So
Gotcha.
we've got some good things planning and send us.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll take that. I'll take that. Um,
I do want to agree with what Mike said too. The city didn't want to just come out there and be an island by themselves without any other development. We weren't going to do a spec office building without the city wanting to make a commitment there. So that's really how this partnership came together, is a mutual respect for each other to say, we'll commit if you. And that's how it happened. And the way we look at it is, we're over 50% with the city there, being 125,000 square feet. And we've got a floor lease, pretty much a floor or space lease with the same commitments more, we're starting to break up. And lease rates are higher than they've, what we pro forma. So we're getting good response. And I think it's just a matter of just lack of space out there.
yes,
If you look at any of the brokerage, I was looking at one on the way out here, along I-10 West, there's 256,000 square feet of office in that market. And we just built 225,000. We just doubled the size of all the office along it. So, the way we look at it, growth in the West Valley, with the freeways, the corridors opening up, and you look at the freeway, the transportation, the people have to drive into Phoenix every day. It's jammed going eastbound in the morning, it's jammed going westbound, 10.
and 101 also.
And it's just, it cries out for people to say, if we could have a place to office here, we wouldn't have to do this driving. So, 100,000 feet's we're not building 1 million square feet, so it's not a huge center, but it's enough to get the regional interest of tenants that want to live.
Sure. One of the things that we've been promoting at Westmark for the last 6+ years is the talent that we have living in this area, and advanced business services, which is really the industry that will be attracted to your site. 69% of advanced industry workers travel for work. That's a huge number. That's a huge number of people that are leaving the region, going to other parts of the region, spending money during the daytime. So it's a drain on our local cities, which we've seen. The pandemic actually proved that, because during the pandemic, I think a lot of the cities thought, oh my gosh, we lose all this money. And it was quite the opposite. You saw a boost in their exchange, right? So that was, proof that we do have the buying power here too. I think that's a lot of the misperceptions, that there isn't the buying power in the West Valley, and that's not the case, because household incomes are on the rise, education levels. There's over 25 post-secondary school offerings in the West Valley. And so again, you maybe don't have a big ASU downtown campus, but when you start looking at overall how many different post-secondary opportunities are here, it's pretty tremendous. So we're definitely developing that talent that's needed. And so this other leg of the stool, this building, is really going to attract those companies that we're looking for.
Well, we're not the 9th fastest growing city in the country by chance. There's a reason why people are coming and want to be here. It's the environment, it's the projects, it's working with the development community. It's all of the synergy that we're building here. So, like I say, I always love to say, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I really believe that you ain't seen nothing yet. And I've got the vision, just like George, that this is going to be a landmark for the West Valley. And this thing is built. We will be on the map if I do this thing gets done. I'm so great. I'm sure for I know.
So
We just need Central to promote.
I was gonna say, so should we start promoting it? Should we show the video?
Let's show the video.
Show the video.
Good time.
Start promoting it, George. Come on. This is like the only project I talk about. I'm embarrassed how much I talk about this project.
Don't be embarrassed.
So this is the groundbreaking.
Like, I have to give people love. Everyone.
This is the,
This is the groundbreaking.
this is the ground up. Oh, this is.
that's.
It was done before we reconstruction.
I know.
It's amazing how much it looks like it's exactly how.
I thought it was a more updated.
I was
Around, that's was what we showed it forever.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that's so easy for me to promote because it's so incredible. And there's so many elements of that project that I absolutely love. I mean, I don't have little kids, so the library's not necessarily my thing, but the artwork in there is incredible. So did the Arts Commission get involved in that? How did you work with the city's Arts and Cultural Advisory Board there?
Yeah, I always getting the Arts Commission involved, in these things for the arts, as this gets done. I'm a zero ones kind of guy, like finance. So art to me, I really appreciate because I can't do it. I can't even do the stepman drawing, right? So that to me is real important in the city to get the Arts Commission involved and put art throughout the city. In fact, one of the ideas from a zero ones kind of guy was those coverings that you see around electrical boxes.
Yep.
That's kind of my idea, to get more art into the city. And now we get grades over all those art pieces of covering this. Yeah, they're very active here, and you're right. In fact, if you go through City Hall right now on the first floor, there's some art drawings and renderings are already out there that are being actually reviewed and going to be picked for some type of award that the arts, I think it's the Arts Commission going through that right now. Looking at those, so yes, again, I love art, even though I can.
There's a beautiful sculpture in the park too. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, yes.
So it has
Commission, right.
condition is basically create what would be like the bean in Chicago, Gallery Park that, is kind of stand out. There's a bunch of beautiful sayings that wrap around, lights up at night. It's a piece as well. So our pieces were very cool.
Yes, and it's definitely throughout the project. So again, when we talk about, thinking class A, these are some of the elements of it, right? Is aesthetics around it, walkability, beautiful glass buildings, that's what we think of, but there's all these other elements.
Parking garage too.
First time we're actually seeing.
We had to write the ordinance for the city. We ordinance the city to do the parking too. So again, it all leads to quality development. We're a believer that, Goodyear deserves the quality and supports quality. That the tenants that want to be there also appreciate the quality that we're putting into our office building. Covered parking, more than just covered parking, but structured parking.
How do you think the pandemic, the concern there, didn't you kind of freak out for a little bit during that time frame? You're going vertical and everyone's working from home, they say, yeah, they don't see that on freeways, but I don't know. So how did you react during that time frame? It's tough, so scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, no one knew what the future was going to hold with this thing. It came on us quickly. Everybody decided to shelter at home, and there was concern about going back to the office. I think there's still a little bit of concern about going back to the office, but we're a believer that you still need to have an office. You still need a place for people to go. People need to learn. They need to be trained. There's a lot of collaboration. And I think what the pandemic showed us is that Zoom's great for some things, but it's not great for everything. And, we're a big believer in office space and having people go to an office and learn in an office, and we're in your office.
Right.
So, you can't be virtual. And so there will continue to be a blend of both virtual and office space, but the tenants that we're talking to, they want to grow, they want to expand. They're looking for more footprint. And so we haven't really seen it as much as maybe the call centers and some of the other types of users that are. But for Class A, for small regional offices, I think people are still.
The pandemic actually supported suburban office. It actually kind of catapulted it, whereas we were just talking 6-7 years ago about how everyone was downtown.
Yeah.
And when you're working from your house for 9 months, not doing that commute from Goodyear to downtown Phoenix or Tempe, and you have to start doing that again, it's like, I'm not doing that. So suburban office is really supported by the impact of the pandemic. So at first, yeah, it was scary, but then as we started seeing the effects and how people really were not going to want back and travel downtown. It bodes well for our project. And it's, almost every tenant that I talk to that wants to be in the area ends up, we end up at least with an LOI. We've had a couple where space is a little too expensive. But, there's nothing else there. So if they want to be in this area, we're the only option. So it's made kind of nice to negotiate leases. So, and we're really going to take our time with the second and third floors. We're really holding out the third floor for a single tenant, maybe the second floor for one or two tenants if we can. We're being slow to break up the second floor. So,
During the pandemic, we're social creatures, and the biggest, I guess, downfall is the schools, where they were trying to teach, kindergartens and first graders and second graders in Zoom classes. And apparently that didn't turn out very well. So I think, I agree with you that eventually people want to get back and interact with employees, and we were fortunate during the pandemic, we were still growing. And actually our revenues were better through the pandemic than they were pre, which allowed us to use the cash that we use for the projects. One of the nice things as part of our growth is we've been able to do the rec center and the GSQ, been able to do those without raising our property tax rate because of the growth of our assessed value. We've been able to keep that rate the same. So very proud of how it's going. But I think with the social interaction, you're gonna have to, well, because you miss that, it's the same as not being in your slippers on the phone on Zoom call, right? Yeah, you don't have to get dressed up to go, but still, you're not interacting, you're not getting any professional growth by not interacting with.
And when you bring amenities to the project too, then people will say, great, I got a place to go for lunch, I can walk over there, I can walk over here, coffee. So it'll all start to come together.
No, I agree. I mean, that's actually the purpose of this format is while this is a webinar, you're not in a Zoom box because then you're talking over each other and there's, it's annoying after a while. And so we just said, we're not going to do that. We're just going to bring folks in and have this different kind of format. I like people around me. I get energy from people. And so with my team, it's like we can, grab 15 minutes and, solve the world's problems as opposed to text when you're ready and
Set meetings.
and all of that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's obviously convenient, but I think for the growth and collaboration and culture, if you have a culture in your organization, new people don't know what that is, what feels like. And I've seen I've heard a lot of companies struggle with that, bringing new employees in that just didn't fit or work because they weren't connecting and the employees didn't. So I don't think this space is dead by any means. I know some people were predicting that. I think quite the opposite. I think people are gonna, definitely want to be here. And the suburban Class A office is absolutely, because you're right, Mike. I mean, I've known people that have now taken pay cuts to stay closer to home because I'm not getting back in the car. I have more time with my kids. I have the time to contribute to
Go for lunch.
Right there.
yeah, I can let the dog out or, it is, so it's exciting. How did Ryan come into this? Like, how did Ryan companies become?
well, it's really extensive RFP process. So any city project has to be put out through a special long-term process. Because we own the land and we were part of the development agreement, the city signed us as the lead for the selection committee. And the selection committee has very specific guidelines. It was run by a staff member at the city that knows the process. We had to bring in an outside engineer, an outside architect, outside contractor as part of the process. And we had 6 or 7 significant processes. Yeah. The committee went through, we had a very stringent rating program and, there were no costs involved in this process. It's really a request for RFQ. So it's all about qualification. And they were all very well qualified, but at the end of the day, the designs that Butler had come up with and the experience that Ryan had on an office and a library expert. So it just, it's a difficult decision, but we're glad we picked Ryan because it's better process.
And they met your deadline, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we fortunately got the project
It's
early on. prior to pandemic hitting. But to try to coordinate those many things and with the supply chain issues, it was pretty amazing. to Get it done on time and on budget.
And on the private side, with our office building and the parking garage that we built, it made more sense to keep Ryan involved in the whole team so that we didn't have separate contractors, pointing fingers at each other.
Sure.
Toes. So we brought Ryan in for the whole project, and they had, PMs and superintendents for the city hall, for infrastructure, for the park, for the office building garage. We had, I think, 6 or 7 trailers out there. And, during the construction period, Ryan was telling me they had somewhere between 300 and 400 employees, not Ryan employees, but subcontractor employees working on the site at any time. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I actually made it clear, but the city owns the office building and the park. And we are dedicating the land to the city, those 2 parcels. Globe owns the office building and the park. But the city has a long-term easement on about 35% of the spaces of the parking lot. So we effectively own 65% of the garage. This has about 35%. But it was very complicated pulling all those things together because we had the city's budget for one aspect and our budget for one aspect, and then we had some cost sharing on. So, but it ended up being 5 separate budgets and 5 separate draw requests. But it's, it's worked out well. Ryan was there, the accounting side of their company was very used to complex projects.
So that's how they became a partner, or that's why you consider them part of this partnership.
yeah, they were a partner, but they weren't actually any ownership in it at all. They were just a contractor.
Right, and it was just really getting the project done in that time frame, that you were under other obligations.
We were the developer, so we basically hired Ryan to do his project, it was both the city. So we oversaw, while the city oversaw their part. But we were the overall master developer for the entire site, so we coordinated everything between Ryan and Bella, all the people.
We actually got the park done in November, time for the city's
Yes.
75-year anniversary song. So that was another deadline the city had kind of put on us. So we managed to get that done on time, had a nice party out there, and the rest of it had to be finished by June 3rd.
And we broke ground in April, so I mean, we did it in 14 months, 13 months, so it was during COVID, which was
Right,
really pretty.
same.
That 75th anniversary, I don't get a chance to be there, but the place wasn't completely built, obviously, in the park, it was fenced off. But my recollection, it was 5,000 people showed up for that. We had food trucks in there.
Yeah, big
and that
Ferris
tells
wheel.
me- Yeah, and that tells me that it's gonna be used a lot, and we have all the events out there. You had 5,000 people show up, and it wasn't even finished. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be a great draw. And the project itself, cash and some bonds that we had, which did not increase. So we've been very fortunate as a result of it. So, with the construction and everything else going in, where we had the resources to pull this off without impacting the property.
And built it for your growth too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's got what, 10, 15 years worth of growth. So yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful,
I think it's great.
yeah, I love your office, but
To see the Cardinal Stadium.
yes, you can, we can wave to each other.
Yeah, Cardinal Stadium.
So what do you think are some, I mean, this is amazing, right? But I'm sure there was, not everything was amazing throughout the process. It was a pretty quick time frame. Any lessons learned to share with others that don't do?
Lessons learned, everything went perfect.
It did go surprisingly well. After very few, supply chain issues gave us some problems. We're still, a few little things to punch out in the building, but it's really just because we haven't been able to get the materials basically to do it. We have some workarounds that we've done, but I think the biggest lesson for me anyway is, I don't know how many city council meetings I came to before we even started this project and talked about it. And I think the camaraderie, the relationship, team building, you guys looking me in the eye and us looking at the city council and having a trust in one another is really what generated the goodwill and helped smoothly since when. Because, we weren't looking to stick them for something. They weren't trying to stick me. This was truly a collaboration that if you didn't have two really interested parties to make sure that trying to reach a common goal, it would have been more difficult. But because we were both rowing in the same direction, I think we got through the process extremely well.
That's one thing I think we're really blessed about at the city. Just to piggyback on what George was saying, we have a good city council that works well together. That's, trying to, that all give 100% behind this project. So I think that has a lot to do with when you have a collaborative council that work well together as opposed to arguing with each other. And it makes it so much easier from a business environment standpoint to move these projects forward. And I'm so proud of our city council and the team, the state. I mean, Julie Karen is a great city manager. I mean, she really is. That was a find for us when we had that, a great find. And the staff, was always out there keeping me straight to make sure I don't wander off too much. So we've got great staff.
The ribbon's over here.
Yeah, I know, yes, yes. We got great staff at the city. So that's, I always want to make sure that I make that mention. It's not a one-person gig, it's a team effort from the manager to the staff to the council, all working together to make this city a great place to work, play, and respect.
And you have a great finance director too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You look at the checks.
Last name.
Well, but I want to make sure I give plenty of credit to Ryan and BDG and that team too, because subcontractors, labor, COVID protection on site, just all the other curveballs that they got thrown to make this project happen. They did a wonderful job. We're grateful for the effort that they put in because they threw their whole team at this. And
6 days a week.
yeah, I mean, they were there all the time.
Yes.
So from the top all the way down through Ryan and all their access with the subcontractors that they had to pull it off was really a feat. I'm not sure a lot of other companies could have done it.
The design phase was pretty cool because, you saw this video. That was before dirt was returned. And Jeff Cutworth was the designer. He's since retired. And he was on the groundbreaking.
This project made him retire.
I think. But to be able to bring, there were hundreds of people involved in the design, between getting input from the community and thousands from the community. They had renderings and community were coming into the old library and putting dots on things that they liked. So the city took all this input and then you had every department in the city weighing in on different aspects of the office building. And to be able to pull all that together and then actually get it constructed 14 months and have it look exactly like that rendering is pretty incredible. The 3D design now, how technology has been construction business, the design business now it's amazing that you can, put your ideas down, actually see a 3D image and stand inside the building, look out at the park virtually before construction even begins. I think that really accelerates the time frame on design and construction.
And I'm sure that's a marketing tool to help you lease the building too.
Oh yeah, we were using that to promote, and try to get a tenant rep broker. That's at 24th Street Camelback to drag a tenant out.
Sure.
I mean, they're taking it to Scottsdale, Tempe for that. So finally starting to get attention to actually come out and look at the property, and they're so impressed when they get out there. I can't believe it. It was like one of them described it as like we took the building, it's like a spaceship that was just set down on the property because that property's been there so many years. People have seen it now. All of a sudden, it's bigger than life. They're coming in glorious. So,
Well,
When you had to build it, that's the bottom line. Is, you can show renderings, you can say this is what we plan to do, and a lot of people will wait until it gets pre-leased before they'll start construction. We knew that we were gonna have to come in first, and we just had to have the confidence that we could get it leased while we're under construction and as we're finishing up now, which we are. And so, it's more of a risk, obviously, it's easier to pre-lease it, but I just don't think you get it pre-leased waiting for it to happen. And with the city wanting to commit there, if we wanted to build our building, our parking structure, we had to commit to it. So
corporate locators don't want to take any risk. They're not paid to share risk, right? So for them to actually make a decision on creating a new office in Goodyear. They've got access to storage stuff. So once you go there, it's just almost impossible to convince someone that's been planning to go to Scottsdale or Tempe or East Valley for them to come out to Goodyear. They've got to be able to show their team what it is, what it looks like, what amenities are going to be around there before they make that decision.
And I'll tell you, use the word commit, right? And so the West Valley communities are all committed to the success of this building. Whether it's Surprise or Peoria or Buckeye, Avondale, I've heard economic development directors saying this is really important for this building to succeed. And I won't say which city, but other cities that did not have the product has actually said, check out Goodyear because they have the product, because they know that once this is successful, we will have proven market value. So.
And we have the opportunity to do another sister building just in the south of the park. And so once we get this one 60–70% leased, it'll take us that much longer to do the design and construction. And we've actually almost started to kick off some design now. So
We're working
I
on
think
second.
that might be a
It's not
second
a
building.
second. So.
I have input for that.
But
It seems like we really get underestimated out here because of who we draw from. For example, I think Oregano's is #1 in the state, if I'm not mistaken. They had to expand when they come, they all make them a little smaller. You have the Texas Roadhouse that had an expansion as well. For some reason, because of the 102,000, they sometimes don't understand that we draw from one of them. We draw from Buckeye, we draw from Sprite, we draw from Glendale, we draw from Avondale. And then once they get here, they have success. So I think the building itself and the vision, it won't take long to fill that up once they start talking to each other about the success they have out there. And I know there's some things that are going to make you have that are going to become. Yes.
Well, just to piggyback on that, Cheddar's, they came out there and, their projections were blown away by their first year sales too.
And the line.
Harkins, it's the #1 Harkins theater in the chain for Harkins. And so, we keep hearing about it's #1 in their chain. It's the fastest growing. It's the highest sales, store or whatever it is. And so all that is leading us to believe.
Sure. And then also, again, taking it from that national perspective of how many residents are in that area, not just within Goodyear, but within the entire south. Quarter mile. In distance. I've definitely walked by the Willard Beach where we walk our dogs. So, but one of the things, that we're working on at Westmark is, having been here now 6.5 years, looking at what's happening in the West Valley, where Westmark was, where it is today. More importantly, where we need to go in the future to make sure that we're serving our members and the residents of this region in the best way. Been going out there and meeting with folks and saying, okay, what's happening in the West Valley that you need differently from Westmark? And we've gotten some really good input. We've made some, I won't say changes, but more focused areas and going in terms of marketing in the West Valley. One of the areas that I've heard from mayors is, we've done a great job marketing who we are today to show that we're different than what folks thought we were in the past. But now we need to start marketing who we're going to be. And one of the things that we've looked at, and it's member driven, is that we really want to create a tech environment in West Valley. We really want to grow that entrepreneurial ecosystem of startups and have these startups go into your building or maybe go into the temporary office space and grow into, okay, now I need to be into this area and, fill not only the existing building, but the proposed ones. And so West Valley 3.0 is really focused on how do we create that ecosystem? And so we're applying for a grant from the National Science Foundation for planning money that will include a 2-year process of working with all the higher education schools. With all the schools, not just higher ed schools. Well, how do we create that tech environment? How do we create that tech workforce. And then also working with the existing companies to see what are they doing in terms of artificial intelligence, how they get their work done faster. So I think these are some things that we're at Westmark, we're applying for this grant. We've got a huge, 4-hour meeting this afternoon and a committee that's been working on this. But I feel that we see that the West Valley has a lot of talent under the surface that, we're getting through the incubators and we're resurfacing. Over the last, I think it was year, the startups in the West Valley, 38%. So, I mean, that's pretty big. So start identifying those companies so that, again, we can share that information with you as they grow. They have a place to grow into. So,
It's not only are they incubating, but with TSMC,
yes,
there's a lot of people that are just relocating here because they need to be TSMC. And so we're already starting to see some impact of leasing with other tenants that say we need engineering firms and other components that tie into TSMC. And so we think just by that plant locating in Northwest Valley, that it'll have a broader reach with other companies wanting to relocate there. And, they need space to office and to bring their companies here in Arizona. So we're going to take some advantage of that as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Buckeye has a lot going on. Goodyear's had interest from other companies within that area that we can't say, right? I think you can, I mean, but you've had those looks of those companies. And I think that, again, they're going to, they'll need those support services, they'll need the finance companies, they'll need engineering firms, so all of that. It's great that we have that space to do that. So, do we have any questions
Just
from
wondering,
out
is anything
there? We have a quiet audience.
I think you've all been through. You get.
No, I'm talking too much, probably.
No? Yeah, to be honest, right, that's.
We got other, we do the construction video. Do we want to play that one? Sure. Can we do it, Kate? This is kind of interesting. Again, 14 months
I'm not sharing yet.
construction. It shows you how fast
15 months goes.
we're able to build this. So we started in April of 2021. You can see the city hall there in the background, and then the office building on the right with City Park in the middle. And then 14 months later, we turned it over June 30th. And then the city has been fixturizing it, doing their FF&E really for the last 60 days, moved in August. And had your first council meeting.
Yes, yes, you did. It's 15 to, I guess, canvass the election, make it official. And then we have one coming on.
This coming Monday, that's the first official.
Yeah, that one was just announced the winners of the election. How that all went, so. But yeah, the council, when you were there, see the council chambers, it's awesome.
150 seats, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, it really is. I just gotta try to get used because it's all technology now. As opposed to raising your hand, who's the first and the second, it's all on the little pad there.
You might hit the wrong button.
I hit the wrong
Don't hit the wrong button.
I just wiped out one of the council members, wait a minute.
So we're trying to create an ecosystem of technology in the West Valley, so we need to start.
Yeah, I know, you're gonna start.
I'm surprised that my car didn't show up in that time lapse video because it was.
It's just so quick. You drive.
Yeah, driving by and actually trying to get into the gate,
Yeah.
peeking
Peeking
in,
through.
taking pictures and things like that. So,
You know, what I think's really nice in that part too, you have the cornhole that's out there, you have a big, huge chessboard play on, and there's a ping-pong table, as well. So you'll see people out there every once in a while using those amenities out there in the park. So, and it's gonna be really great when they have concerts out there. Or a blanket to sit out there, just also food from the trucks that are gonna be around there. Just enjoy their tickets in the park. Music, some festivals,
Ice skating rink.
ice skating room, great.
That's really start to come to life.
Yeah, it's all gonna be.
so Mayor, the city's also planning to, or has added resources to support those community events, correct? So that's a tremendous investment that you've made to bring the community in.
Well, what we do every 2 years is we survey the community How are we doing? What service are we providing? Do you like what you like, what you don't like? And what's really great is we got 94% of people who live in the city think Goodyear's either a good or a great place. Okay? Which really says a lot for the service. Because I get very few emails from anybody who has any issue at any of our events. Our staff at Rec put on some excellent events. Never a problem with any of those events. So, yes, we've got new staff coming on. Remember, we got the Rec Center, but there'll be events there as well. So it's a big thing with the community gathering, and they love the services, the amenities that we provide. So,
And do you know how many people the park holds?
that's a good question. I'm not sure. I know we have 5,000 wandering around there for the 75th anniversary.
Okay.
So I imagine quite a few of them will sit on that park too. So, and then there'll be people wandering, going in, maybe going across, getting something to eat, food trucks, we have restaurants around there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's gonna be a great synergy, and it's all walkable, and you'll be able to walk from there.
Yes, I walk in.
And the parking garage is oversized.
Right,
We
yeah,
need to do. So it's free. So anybody's able to park there whenever they want for free.
When we get the new restaurants
So, well,
that you won't tell us about.
exactly.
But the mayor tells me I'll be happy, so I'm good with that.
I'm telling you, you'd be good.
You'll be happy, trust
But I think the important thing is we want to have access, have everybody have access to this park. So whether they're coming to pay utility bills or they're coming to enjoy a festival, there's plenty of parking. And again, as we fill in around the square, another office building for retail and other things that are planned, parking garage. This area is going to really start to feel more urban, more downtown. And as we like to say, it's going to be pretty safe. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Any final words about the project or anything?
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah.
This-
What are you gonna have? We'll give you some more crumbs.
you. Yeah, we get some more crumbs later on.
Oh, so we're probably gonna have a restaurant. That's one.
We can do that.
Yeah. And
Get that scheduled in the next few months.
all right, good to know. Good heads up. And then at some point, we're gonna do an event in the building.
Yeah, I'd love to have you out there as well.
Yeah, so we'll be working on
Have
that.
people come out.
Just part of this, it's a good time.
Good. Oh, there we go.
All right.
Oh, there's nothing more to say. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you missed any part of this or you want to share this with anyone, we will be posting this video this webinar on our website. And so again, please share it if you want to give anyone more information on the project or what's going on. So thank you all for joining us. Our next hot topics will be in 2 months. I don't have the date handy, but it will be coming up shortly. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.